Hello, I am IGN's Dan Stapleton.
I'm Justin Davis.
And I reviewed Shadowrun Returns. I gave it a 7.3, which means good.
Yes.
I think this is a good game.
It's a good. It's not a 73%. It's not a C. It is a good game.
It is good, not great, though.
So let's take a look at what is up with Shadowrun. So this is obviously the Returns, if people weren't already familiar. This is sort of a rebooted, reimagined Shadowrun RPG.
Right.
It's not a class-based first-person shooter.
Nor is it the real-time combat game that came out on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Genesis way back.
That's actually a good point. The battle system is all new, so we should take a look at that. But
so just to clarify here. The Shadowrun Returns game is kind of like a framework for what will probably in the future be a bunch of different modules.
They have really elaborate mod tools, that are, I haven't messed around with them. They're supposed to be pretty easy to use, with the idea that, their own campaign isn't incredibly long, but hopefully, the community will continue to sort of expand this universe over time.
And in fact, this Life on a Limb module here is one that I downloaded from Steam Workshop that one of the early access people made.
Yeah.
Haven't really played around with that very much, but the one that you will get when you buy Shadowrun Returns is the Dead Man Switch.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah, you can see it was made by Harebrained Schemes, the developer here. So let's load that up.
So the world of Shadowrun is really probably its greatest asset. This franchise's greatest asset. It's kind of crazy. There's nothing else really like it. I guess in a nutshell, what it does is combine fantasy and sci-fi.
Right. So it's like it's the 2050s, and magic has reemerged, and there are all these fantasy races. You've got human, huge fantasy there.
Yeah.
You've got elves, you've got dwarves, orcs, and trolls.
So you'll have dwarf hackers, orcs with guns.
Right.
That's basically what you got going on.
Right. And it actually has a pretty complex class system here. Although these classes are really just presets. And we'll just go into the next area here, and we'll show our stats. You can spend your karma points, which are just your experience points, any way you want. I like this system quite a bit. It looks intimidating because there's all these stats to scroll through.
Right.
I think it's probably laid out this way because it's also going to be an iOS game. Otherwise, like if it were a PC-only game, like you could probably display all this on one screen.
But you do like this system. It affords you, it's one of the things you say in your review, is you like the flexibility. You're sort of given points like candy. You're given them all the time. And so, even though there's, probably several hundred potential skill points in here, they give them out at such a pace that, you can sort of take whatever skills you want.
Right. Well, I mean, it's limited. I mean, you can't take everything in one.
No. But I mean, you have lots of options to sort of continue improving your character.
Right. I mean, you've got a bunch of skills. You've got your main skills like body, quickness, strength, intelligence, willpower, and charisma. But within most of those, there are sub-skills.
Right.
And they have a kind of interesting system where you see this line here means that I have to have beyond that. If I want to get this skill, I first have to upgrade my overall charisma skill to move that line
makes sense.
forward.
You have to reach certain thresholds before, to prevent people from just powering something up to 12 and then breaking the game.
And also certain races can't expand their abilities beyond certain points. But anyway, so this character I've made here is a shaman.
Okay.
So let's go on here. This is the etiquette. It's kind of your character's demeanor. It kind of determines a few dialogue options.
So non-combat stuff.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
It's not a great system just because...
You should be a socialite, just like real life.
Yes, I'll be a socialite. Okay. It's not a fantastic system. We'll name this person Justin.
Yeah.
All right. Not a fantastic system in this context because the Dead Man Switch story is kind of limited, and there aren't really that many options to take advantage of that. Like there are probably a couple of places where each one of those will come into play.
Got it. Let's talk about the story a little bit. In a short sort of overview like this, it's going to be hard to really communicate what's going on with it. But you did like the story a lot.
I do, yeah, and it's
sort of noir style murder mystery, right?
Right. So it starts out with you being told that a friend of yours has been killed.
Got it.
And he hires you from beyond the grave to find out who killed him.
Cool. So and you solve the crime, and then I'm assuming, as video games do, things sort of expand from there. It turns out there's more going on. I'm again going to assume, I haven't played this, that there is a conspiracy of some kind.
It does a really good job of kind of ballooning out of control.
Sure, yeah, that's awesome. And so you said it's in your review. You say it's well written, mostly well realized. But your one sort of big criticism is that it's just kind of short, right?
Yeah, I mean, it took me about 10 hours to play through it.
Well, that's not really too bad. I mean,
for a big, for an RPG like this, like you kind of expect a little bit more from it.
Sure, and I know, I mean, we're not in the interest of reviewing things in terms of value for dollar, but this is not, a full price game either.
It's a $20 game, and again, like it's going to be expanded upon.
Right.
Like there are already things you can download for free to grow on.
And so that story is mission-based, right? So you're going to be picking up sort of your first mission right now that I'm assuming is going to be some tutorial stuff and sort of introducing you to the world. But you talk about this mission structure as another thing that you really liked a lot.
Well, the mission structure, yes and no. So
there's good and bad there.
Right. All right. Actually, we're gonna see combat here.
Okay.
And this is one of those games where it shows you the what combat is going to be like later on once you level up, because it's kind of like a flashback kind of thing.
Got it. So you get, you get a super powered up character, and then it's like, look, this is what you can look forward to in hour 8, after you put your time in. Right.
And so what happened here is, you've been set up.
Of course you have.
And your one of your party here has sold you out.
And you have some dialogue choices here.
They don't really matter that much.
Exactly.
It's like here we've got like, here's some sassy option, and there's like a hard-nosed Shadowrunner mercenary option, and then
just a silly one.
Yeah, so it's not, and it doesn't really make a difference.
And you said, so that's true in the dialogue, and that's also kind of true in the gameplay, right? Like, there are some missions where you might have a couple different ways that you could approach it, but this is, by and large, a linear experience.
Yes. Okay, so in combat here, it reminds me a lot of...
That looks just like XCOM.
Yeah.
With the half shield, even.
XCOM Enemy Unknown. So, and the way that your movement range is shown is the exact same thing as XCOM.
They cribbed from XCOM. I mean, I guess if you're going to have a strategy battle system, XCOM's a pretty good one to pull from.
Right. You do eventually get more than 2 moves. You get 3 and 4 if you buff yourself.
Okay.
But it works more or less the same way as XCOM, except you can attack both times, and it doesn't end your turn after you attack.
And so I'm assuming, again, we won't really have a chance to get into all the details of the battle rules, but you're in half cover or full cover, and that sort of affects the dice rolls of whether you're going to hit or whether you're going to miss.
Exactly. You can see when you mouse over somebody what's your percentage of hitting them. I'm using a melee guy.
So you're just going to club him in the face. Yeah. I would hope you wouldn't miss with your baseball bat.
And this is another range guy, so I can move him into cover here and then shoot him. He's got 99% chance of hitting. I like those odds. So that's the basic combat. There are also some good abilities that you unlock as you upgrade stuff in your karma tree, and some limited inventory stuff. Health kits that you can revive somebody who goes down. You can here's a summon. Here, I'm gonna call in an air elemental.
Got it. So now we're seeing, you just summoned a magic elemental as your teammate is using guns, and that's another sort of good illustration of how this world sort of works.
Right. It's pretty good combat. I mean, like...
I think I want to say, that I'm looking at this game sort of up close. I've seen videos and stuff, but not the final game in motion. I'm not radically impressed with how it looks. I think it gets the job done. I think it's evocative and sort of, accomplishes what it needs to. But this is certainly not going to win any art awards, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, and this is as far in as you can zoom right here.
Yeah. And if you were to get closer, things would probably not look detailed enough to really hold up under that scrutiny.
Right. They're kind of hiding from you that it's not super detailed. But that's fine. I mean, it reminds me a lot of old school Fallout.
Got it. Sure, fair enough.
And especially in the style of RPG that it is, where when you're actually running around, it's in real time, and then you go into combat and it stops, and you go into tactical combat. And that game is near and dear to my heart. And for a game to remind me of it is high praise.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it's still not quite as deep as that, even though it's got this cover system, I think.
You did have one thing that you mentioned to me was the save system is a little bit non-traditional.
The save system is deeply disappointing because it does not allow you to save anywhere. It is checkpoints only. And that means like you can't really save and do like a, well, what if I did this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's disappointing for a bunch of reasons. One, just from a quality of life standpoint, you can't, I need to stop the game right now and walk out my door. Like, you can't do that. But secondly, yeah, you can't really see how things would have played out in different ways, or
right. And like in this particular case, because there isn't a whole lot of variation in like what will actually happen other than kind of the dialogue that you say, and you kind of get to role play. It's like I'm a hard-nosed, street hardened Shadowrunner. Other than that, like there's not a lot of stuff that's going to come back to haunt you or anything like that.
So what else do people need to know about Shadowrun Returns that, if they're thinking about picking this up, if they're on the fence? Is there anything else that we haven't touched on?
I mean, that's the broad strokes of it. There's a more detailed review you can read on IGN.com where you should keep it locked.
Yeah, you should. It's a very, very good story, great setting. A little bit short, maybe a little bit too linear, but it's definitely a game that you dug.
Yeah, and like my elemental here is actually turned against me because I tried to push him too hard. But that's kind of a cool thing. But
yeah.
But it is a good game, and I really expect it to get better as time goes on.
Nice.
because people are going to make their own modules for it. And oftentimes, especially with games like this, people tend to come up with stuff that's better than the original material.
Yeah, I mean, certainly given enough time and enough, sort of creativity, and if the tools are good enough. I mean, I kickstarted Shadowrun Returns. After seeing you play it for a few minutes here, I'm looking forward to sort of digging into it and giving it a shot. So Dan, sort of thanks for giving us the scoop on Shadowrun.
Thank you, Justin. And I do think that you will be pleased with your kickstarting purchase.
Cool.
Because it is I had fun with it.
Awesome.
For the reasons we just described.
Awesome.
All right. Well, for more on Shadowrun Returns, be sure to check out IGN.com because we'll have some of that.